I said it on Monday, I will say it again, we will need a booster shot in India. More so because we have at least 2 confirmed cases of Omicron variant in the country now. Close to 50% Indians are now fully vaccinated. I say open up those slowly, those who need boosters, one by one in phases, but please do so as quickly as possible. Let's debate.
The Omicron variant is now in India. Central government has confirmed 2 cases in Karnataka.
पिछले 24 घंटे के अंदर हमारे देश में 2 ओमिक्रॉन वेरिएंट के केस हमारे इस नेटवर्क के द्वारा डिटेक्ट किए गए कर्नाटका में। उसमें से एक केस 66 साल के एक मेल हैं, दूसरा केस 46 साल के एक मेल हैं।
One of the patients was a South African national and other a health worker, both completely vaccinated.
Both the cases which we had sent for genomic sequencing from Karnataka have been proved to be Omicron positive. So one person is about 66-year-old who is South African national who has gone back. But we have tracked and traced his primary and secondary contacts of 24 and 240 people respectively.
And with the advent of Omicron in India and the variant infecting even those completely vaccinated, the need for a booster shot is now more than ever.
इसके वजह से वैक्सीनेशन के डिसीजन या ट्रीटमेंट के डिसीजन या डायग्नोस्टिक टेस्ट के डिसीजन के बारे में जो आज हमने दिखाया है वो करंट स्टेटस है. डायग्नोस्टिक टेस्ट आर वर्किंग. Vaccination must be pushed because it will be protective.
If we look at the timeline, it's been 11 months since the health workers have been fully vaccinated, which demands the need for a booster shot to increase the waning immunity. Even vaccine makers believe so.
The 6th month, what you give a 3rd dose is a miracle dose in a child. That gives lifetime immunity. 3rd dose. 3rd dose gives a lifetime immunity, not the 1st and 2nd. Okay? So you go by that logic of world science. Booster may be required, but today the disease burden is very low. We are not able to see. My feeling is the virus load has come down in the country. So we'll wait and watch. I think the government is also watching, and enough supplies are also there now.
As of this minute, 49% Indians are fully vaccinated against COVID. The challenge remains.
देश ने कोविड के वैक्सीनेशन कवरेज में नए आयाम स्थापित किए हैं. आप सबको अवगत है कि हमने कुछ ही समय पहले 100 करोड़ डोजेज एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन देश में किया था और अब वह संख्या बढ़ते बढ़ते अगर हम देखें तो 125 करोड़ से अधिक देश में अभी तक हम डोजेज डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर चुके हैं.
And amid the Omicron threat, India cannot let its guard down and repeat the mistakes from the second wave.
With 2 eminent doctors tonight who are both members of the National COVID-19 Task Force. First is Dr. Rahul Pandit, who's Director Critical Care at Fortis, Mumbai. And we have with us Dr. D.S. Rana, very, very distinguished doctor, member of National COVID Task Force, senior nephrologist. We have also got very eminent Dr. Arvinder Singh Soin. He's chairman of the Institute of Liver Transplantation and Regenerative Medicine at Medanta. Thank you very much. So great panel of doctors. But my first question is to the Health Minister of Karnataka, Dr. Sudhakar. Dr. Sudhakar, very concerned. Can you tell us about the, the 2 cases that have been found in Karnataka? What was the sample? How many people are you? Did you test? And out of them, how many were COVID-19 positive? How many were COVID-19 with the Omicron genome sequencing, which was tracked? Secondly, worry is, could it have spread? These people would have primary, secondary contacts. When will we know the results of the primary, secondary contacts? What's the time frame?
Yeah, Arnab, unfortunately today we got the confirmation from Government of India that 2 of our samples which was sent for genomic sequencing as they have confirmed it that it is Omicron positive for two of the people. One is basically a South African citizen who had traveled to Bangalore on the 20th of the last month. and we had found that he is positive, and later he was quarantined in a luxury hotel in Bangalore and isolated. When our PHC doctor has gone and checked, he was asymptomatic, and after a few days we have received this information. We have tested almost 264 of his primary and the secondary contacts of his. Luckily, none of them is positive. The second Omicron positive is a doctor, practicing doctor in one of the very important hospitals in Bangalore. He has no travel history as well. And we have tested close to about 250 samples which belong to his primary and the secondary contacts, out of which 5 have been COVID positive. So these 5 positive who have been identified, and the doctor has been isolated in one of our government hospitals. And
No,
none
but this
of
person,
them
the doctor was
is,
the doctor in
symptomatic.
case, the doctor in case in point. Sorry to interrupt. Was found COVID positive when, and was he in isolation since then? Because he was saying he's from a prominent hospital. There would be a fear of exposure.
Yes. Yeah, he was tested positive on 23rd. He found himself very fatigued, and he was feeling very down. So he got it checked, and he found out that he's positive. Soon after he got the report on the 23rd.
So, and he was all
evening,
obviously, presumably, both the cases were double vaccinated also. Both the cases were double vaccinated.
Yeah, both are double vaccinated.
Which is the worry, Dr. Sudhakar. I want to take this to Dr. D.S. Rana, that this double vaccination is not helping. So obviously there is need for more protection.
Arnab, we cannot conclude that double vaccination does not help.
No,
It is
double
only
vaccination,
this in the
when we
long run.
see that there is...
Yeah, because double vaccination does provide protection from severe disease. It does provide it reduces the chances of getting hospitalization and ultimately eventually the chances of death. But however, it doesn't say that if you cannot get infection, people can't get infected. The whole village is something like global, the world is a global village, and it's very important that every person in every nook and corner of the world is vaccinated, and that will be the only way to end this menace of pandemic, and we are waiting for that. And I think right now we encourage that many people in the country have not taken second dose of the vaccine, and they must take it at the earliest. At the same time, government must find out the method to vaccinate children and also provide booster dose to frontline workers, especially health workers.
Yeah, but that's the point, Dr. Rahul Pandit. Will a booster dose give you more protection against this variant? Because people are paranoid now about this variant. Will a booster dose enhance protection? We had Dr. Krishna Ella at the Republic Economic Summit who said the third dose is the miracle dose.
Yes, good evening, Arnab. I think there are two things here which are separate. The first is that, whether the booster dose is required or not, and which population would actually the booster dose help the most. So I think that we have to distinguish between the booster dose and an additional dose. An additional dose will definitely be required right now for people who are immunocompromised, who haven't had a good immune response despite 2 doses. I think there is no doubt about that. These people need to be prioritized and given the vaccine. The second is the booster dose. Yes, booster dose needs to be given. There is no doubt about that. And that needs to be given based on the availability of the stock of vaccines, which I believe is plenty right now, as well as we need to basically understand that healthcare workers and the frontline workers may be the ones who would benefit the most. But the narrative that because of Omicron, we need to give the booster dose perhaps may not be right, because I agree with Dr. Rana. The new variant, in fact, actually should make us vaccinate everybody doubly as quickly as we can, so that there is a large population, perhaps everyone on the planet Earth, who gets vaccinated. That's the approach for a variant. But what we are saying is a different thing, that we've had a large chunk of population who've had their vaccination in the first half of this year and whose immunity may be going down. We need to probably give booster to them. Just 1 second more. There is third category of people, which is 2 doses plus they have had a COVID infection. I think that group probably can wait because they have the best immune response right now. They've taken the 2 doses, but their COVID infection has probably acted as a booster for them. So they can be the one who can be probably given the late booster dose, but the other population definitely it needs to be considered, no doubt about that.
So what you're saying is that there seems to be a general consensus, Dr. Soin, here that booster dose is good. You can call it an additional dose. You're meaning for people who are probably senior citizens, immunocompromised, who may be more vulnerable. You're calling an additional dose for them. So I guess it's about language. And for others, you're calling it a booster dose. But what he's saying is anyone who's had 6 months or more since the second dose, immunity may be going down. Not bad to let them have a shot, an additional shot. Dr. Soin. Only because there's a lot of paranoia now, Dr. Soin, about Omicron, because there's a feeling that it was going away, but it's coming back. You know how it works on psyche of people.
So, Arnab, the fact that there is Omicron now is actually indicative of the fact that Corona has not gone away.
Yeah.
There will be another variant soon, and that's why we need to vaccinate.
Yeah.
Now, boosters, I think, should be given for those people who are more than 6 months out, either after their last infection or the last vaccine shot, especially the elderly and those with comorbidity and healthcare workers. See, for example, most of us frontline workers have had their last dose about 6 to 9 months ago. And our immunity would be definitely waning. There are numerous studies that have indicated that immunity wanes in 4 to 9 months after the last dose. In fact, there are two very interesting recent studies from Israel and US, which say that earlier the vaccination, more the breakthrough infection now. So people who've been vaccinated in January, February, have much more breakthrough infection compared to those who've been vaccinated in March, April, for instance. And hence the need for boosters.
So then we need to move fast, right? We need to move fast, absolutely. Dr. Rana, somewhere. I feel if government has the stock and you're a part of the National COVID Task Force, I think if it's available and we have good stock now, I think it should be available in the market perhaps on medical recommendation because we need to move fast on the booster dose. We are waiting and everybody will then start lining up. Why don't we open it up? Would you recommend the government should open up an additional shot or booster shot soon?
Yeah, I think so, because we have got adequate vaccine now in the country. In fact, I don't know what government sector, but in the private sector, the vaccines are freely available, but there is no taker actually. And in fact, I can say in our own hospital, we have got nearly about 6,000 doses, which we are not able to utilize, and the company is not ready to take it back. Why should I give booster? This is very problematic. We have got plenty of vaccine. There's no problem.
Is this very dangerous, Dr. Pandit? This particular, is 5 times more transmissible and things we are hearing. Can it just move very fast?
So quickly, from a public health perspective, I think it probably is more transmissible than the Delta variant. I don't know number of times, how many times than Delta, but it definitely is. But we don't know the clinical spectrum in terms of severity of illness, whether it's going to be long-lasting symptoms, whether it's going to affect the lungs or the other organs more. I think we need to give it 2 to 3 weeks, which is a standard COVID timetable to be followed. So I think by 20th December or maybe by Christmas or so, we will have a lot more information which will be more accountable.
You say we should be very, very careful, right, Dr. Sudhakar? This is the time to be super careful next couple of weeks, like when traveling, at work, in public places.
Absolutely. I think we need to resume to our COVID appropriate behavior, at least for the next 1 month.
1 month.
To see how this new variant behaves. Because normally we all know that virus, especially these pandemic viruses, normally tend to mutate all the time.
They'll keep mutating.
But the good factor or the optimistic point of view that I would like to make is, once the mutation starts happening, finally it even dilutes. the severity reduces.
Possible.
This
But
is
I'd
what,
say, running short of time, I just say, Dr. Soin, my takeaway is be on our guard, maximize vaccination, open up for a booster shot and be very, very careful, right? Are hospitals like yours, are you also being extra careful now?
So you've summed it up quite well, Arnab. And yes, we are worrying about you. We always have these nightmares about the second wave, and we certainly don't want anything close to that happening again. So we must be very, very careful as a people. Take COVID appropriate precautions and boost up the vaccination program. You know, one point I'd like to make about the so-called ethical dilemma between prioritizing between second shots and boosters. I don't think there's any ethical dilemma at all if there is enough vaccine stock. After all, we are helping to protect people who are low on immunity against the virus and raising the immunity level of the population. So we should really have no qualms about booster shots.
Absolutely. I'm sure the government is listening. Thank you, Dr. Soni, Dr. Pandit, Dr. Rana, and Dr. Sudhakar. And ladies and gentlemen, see you at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Once again, with a big story, the most relevant debate. Good night and goodbye.